Welcome, everybody. My name is Christine Valenza-Shin. I'm an alum of the college, and I am the interim executive director for Beyond Barnard, and really excited to say a few words of introduction for this info session for QMSS. It's I'm not supposed to play favorites, but it's my favorite pathway. I was a history major here at Barnard a long time ago. If I could go back in time and be able to do something like QMSS and add that sort of analytical quantitative piece to what I learned in history, then definitely on my list of what I would do differently. So excited that you're all here, excited that you're interested. I wanted to say a couple words about what Beyond Barnard's role is in all this. We are sort of the administrative liaison between the Columbia University schools that have pathways, as well as coordinating with our faculty leads for the various pathways. And so in a moment, you'll hear from Professor Sharon Harrison, our faculty lead for QMSS, and then the bulk of the presentation will be our wonderful colleagues from across this street at Columbia QMSS. For next, so welcome to this intro session. We encourage students, especially first years and sophomores who are thinking about the program generally, juniors who are starting to think and decide whether they're going to apply. And so your first stop, if you have general questions about the program, is to make a 4+1 appointment with Beyond Barnard through Handshake. And any number of our staff are happy to sort of walk you through the basics. If you are starting to think about your academic program and how you will fit in prerequisites and fit and leave space in your senior year to be able to start taking the QMSS courses, that's a great time to meet with Professor Harrison, and she'll say a little bit more about what else she can answer questions about. And then, of course, once you are actively applying, if you run into any logistical or other issues, you reach out to our Columbia colleagues, and Beyond Barnard also helps support you through the application process, as well as once you're in the cohort to support your experience and keep you all unified. So so that's our role. We're sort of, if you're not sure who to go to, you can always come to us and we'll direct you if we don't know the answer. So that's the short version of that. So welcome, everybody, and I'll turn things over to Professor Harrison.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Christine. Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be here and see you. Some of you I've met before, maybe I've already talked to you about the program. Yes, I am the faculty lead for this program, and I'm also very excited about the program. Been doing this for, I think, 4 years now at this point. And yeah, I feel like I'm pretty well educated about the program. So the idea is that you come to me after you talk to somebody in Beyond Barnard about the program. And I'm happy to talk to you. Mostly what students talk to me about is the application process, what's involved in applying to the program. And I can talk you through, what you need to do to apply to the program and your specific, I like to talk to you about like your specific case, like why you applied to the program, what are your specific interests, and kind of get to know you a little bit as you apply to the program and where you are right now. You can come to me in your first year, sophomore year, or junior year, or some students even come to me in their senior year when they're deciding to apply to the program. So I like to get to know you and think about, your fit for the program. So we mostly talk about the application process, and we can also talk a little bit about what you might do afterward, what kind of careers you can have after being in the QMSS program, and even whether the QMSS program is right for you. Some students are thinking about, is the QMSS program right for me? So we can also talk about that. So, and I can't answer every single question that you have. One thing I think I'm good at is research. That's what I do for a living. So sometimes there's a question and I don't know the answer. And then I would say I would refer you to the people that you're going to hear from for most of the program today. And so, yeah, so sometimes I say, okay, well, let's see, we can look that up. Or maybe you need to talk to Greg or Elena, and you either come to an information session or you can refer to them and we can find out the answers to some of the others of your questions. So yeah, please come to me, and I'm here, to guide you as you think about applying to this program. Okay.
Okay. And so turn things over for the bulk of the information. Start with Gregory. Ira.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out. Thank you, Beyond Barnard. Thank you, Professor Harrison, for arranging this. It's a great pleasure to speak with you all. We've developed a wonderful kind of relationship with Barnard students with this BA, MA, or this 4+1 program, and we're really happy to give you an overview of what QMSS is all about, and then the particular kind of opportunities and specialities that come from the BA, MA option. And so my name is Greg Eyrick. I'm the director of the QMSS program. I've been in that role for 10 years, something like that, so a long time. I have a lot more to say, but I did want to make sure I also have a chance for Elena Kromova to introduce herself as well. So Elena, do you want to say a couple words first too?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Elena Kromova. I'm the assistant director at QMSS. I have been with the program probably about 6 years now. I've probably talked to some of you, I see some familiar names. I know that lots of people reached out, and that's great. For those of you who are considering applying, I think you may have seen language to the effect that you need to speak to the QMSS program directors. Reach out if you have any questions for sure, but it's not mandatory to reach out. If things are more or less clear, you can count this orientation session as, you know, your consultation. But please feel free to follow up with questions. I'll be glad to answer.
Great. All right. And so I will mention, just because you may have an interaction with them as well, that we have a coordinator for the program as well. Historically, that's been Megan McCarter, so you may have had some interactions with Megan before. We have a new coordinator, Rachel, who I think is a little under the weather today and not able to join us, but you may very well interact with her as well. So I just wanted to mention she's fantastic too, and we can't wait for her to work with you all. So let me say a little bit overall about QMSS and about you know, what the program is about, and then we'll sort of work our way into sort of the particulars of how it goes with the Barnard BA MA program. As I mentioned, we've had a number of Barnard students who've successfully joined QMSS and have gone on to great things. I was actually just writing a recommendation for one of the BA MA students who's now graduated as she looks to PhD program. So you all have been on my mind. In terms of you know, what QMSS is all about, we are a program, an interdisciplinary master's program here in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. We have been around for, this will be our 23rd year. And so we've had a long history of educating students in applied statistics and data science for the social sciences. So what we end up doing is trying to take the best of the methods that we can from economics, sociology, political science, I'm forgetting a couple, history, psychology, and we look to sort of distill that down into the best material for you so that you can use that in whatever field you want to use it in. And so we're really, really lucky that we have a really diverse group of students that come and join the program. We have students from dozens of countries. We have students with dozens of backgrounds. We have students who are going part-time, students who are going full-time, students that are recently graduated from college, students that have been out for a number of years. And in all those respects, we're so lucky to have them. And then when they join the program, it's really meant to be useful for you. It's meant to be flexible for you. And so regardless of where you're coming from, we want to know where you want to go. And it's our job to help you get there. And so whether that is to go into fields, we have students who go into all variety of careers. I'd say lately, the most common job title for our student is something to do with data science. So data scientist or someone who works in data science. A great number of folks who work as analysts or as academic researchers in a great number of areas. So we have a lot of students who work in the public sector, the government, not-for-profit sector, things like United Nations, Doctors Without Borders, and then folks who go and work in banks or consulting firms or tech companies. You name it, we probably have an alum who's there. And so it's really meant to be very generally useful. And then the goal of the program is for you to kind of make that specifically for yourself. And so we'll get to know you. We, as Elena said, she's already spoken with a number of you. We'll speak with everybody who joins the program and get a sense of what they're going for. We get a chance to interact across a large number of classes and activities. And so we have tried to build a curriculum that is, going to be able to provide you this useful kind of training in quantitative methods and statistical techniques and data science knowledge. And so I'd say a few things on that. We have some required courses, things in data analysis for social science, research seminar, theory methodology, and those are largely meant to get everyone on the same page, right? Since we have folks coming from all different backgrounds, all different majors, all different places, we want to sort of have everyone have a chance to experience the same sort of concepts, the same sort of training up to a point. And so we all work together on those. But then there's a great deal of electives that we offer within the QMSS program. And so we teach courses in time series and forecasting, in geographic information systems, in natural language processing, in machine learning, in social networks, in data visualization, in modern data structures, in applied data science, in advanced analytic techniques. I'm probably forgetting a couple of practicum in research, large scale data research. So a great number of courses, and those are designed for our students, right? So they're taught by either myself or Elena or other faculty at QMSS, or it could be a series of adjunct professors who are typically directors of data science in New York City. And they really like teaching. They really like teaching QMSS students. They come back year over year to do that, and are really invested in training you all. And so they teach a number of these electives as well, but they're really a part of our community. And so you can take a bunch of classes through that, but you're also welcome to take classes beyond that. And that can be within cognate departments, so political science, sociology, economics, psychology, history, anthropology, statistics. All those sorts of courses are ones that students might take. Beyond that, you might be looking at courses in other schools, so the Data Science Institute, the School of Engineering, Mailman School of Public Health, Teachers College School of Education, School of Architecture, SIPA, which is where I'm where we're broadcasting from today, School of International Public Affairs. So courses can be had in all of those places, and typically across any given year, students will take hundreds of unique courses around the university. And so we can advise you with regard to that based on your interest and based on what we're offering and based on what previous students have had for that as well. And so lots and lots of courses to take and fill your time with. As I said, beyond that, you'll have chances to socialize. We have a student group called KZAR, which puts on events that are sometimes professional development, but sometimes are just fun, right? So getting to see each other, going places, trying new food, kind of getting to know each other in different respects as well. And so we want to have ways for you to socialize in that regard. And then the last couple pieces that I'll mention, and then I'll maybe let Elena weigh in on some things as well about the overall program, is that we have she can speak about the master's program because she tends to teach that, or sorry, the master's thesis that she ends up teaching. But beyond that, we also have developed a practicum course on large scale data analysis, where we partner with other research partners, and then our students work together with those partners to try and answer a question of interest to them. We've had great partners so far. So we've had partners IBM, KPMG Consulting, United Nations, a couple of consulting firms that are in more sort of boutique consulting firms, Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. So a great number of very sophisticated organizations have joined with us and our students to really answer questions. And oh, the Census Bureau, I forgot them. And so our students have done a great job and really represented the program well, and really served as a basis for these partnerships to continue to grow and evolve. In addition to that, there's internship possibilities. We certainly have internships that we can recommend you consider. And there's a class that you could take for that as well. So there's a lot of ways to get sort of practical experience in the types of things you're interested in as well. I haven't told you at all about sort of the specifics of how this would work for you as BA/MA students at Barnard. We'll get to that in a moment, I think. But in the meantime, I don't know, Elena, if you wanted to say a few words maybe about the thesis class and anything that you also wanted to reiterate from what I've already said, maybe.
Yeah, thank you. That's I know it's a lot of information. I'm sure that you guys have probably perused our website and have learned a bit of that already, but I just wanted to reiterate a few points that we've been known for flexibility for 20 some years now. And that's our whole purpose really to exist as a program, is to help students get to the point where they want to get. And we don't necessarily have a cookie cutter approach to things. So we're willing to work with you on selecting courses and kind of crafting your own profile to be as much as oriented towards data science or towards program evaluation research or towards kind of data visualization and kind of techniques like that, if you're more into that, interested in that vein of work, or, towards a discipline, whether it's economics or psychology or sociology or anything else. A lot of people come with an interest in economics. So the question that we already got kind of confirms this. So we get, of course, our students come from the social sciences, generally speaking. And I would say probably economics and political science are the top two. And yes, there is a lot of interest in the economic science focus, right? We have 3 focuses, the way we think about them, actually 4. And economic science is one of them in conjunction with the economics department program. We have a flexible focus, which is really, like the name says, allows for the most flexibility of mixing and matching classes that you are interested in. Then we have a data science focus, which just has more courses in data science, such as machine learning, for example, natural language processing and stuff like that. And then we have an experiments focus. There's always people who are much more interested in experiments. So we have some ways to do this as well. So to answer the question that came from Angel, somebody who is interested in the economics track and wondering if there's any prerequisites that you need to complete, the short answer is no. You don't need to declare what track you want to pursue in your application, right? You can decide this later. And as a matter of fact, there's even some opportunity to switch tracks if you find out that it's not what you actually want to do. I have to say that our most popular track is the flexible one that allows people to mix and match courses as they see fit. And then our data science focus is the most popular next. I personally meet with every student who comes into the program and talk to them again. What are your goals? What do you want to do after QMSS? What do you want to learn here? And then we together decide, okay, which track is going to be best for you to meet those kinds of needs and goals that you have, right? So a lot of people start with, the idea that they want the econ track because they're interested in economics as a discipline, and find out that eventually actually data science might be better or flexible might be better, right? So there's time to go through this after you are admitted in the program. We can talk about the specifics classes you take, but there's no requirements to qualify for any of the tracks, right? They're all open to you. I'll say a few words about the master's thesis. Greg mentioned I instruct the course, so every student that comes into the program has to complete a master's thesis. So this is their one big paper at the end of their program, where they can really pick their data, their question, their methods. So it's really up to you. All of the research design elements are up to you, and you get to decide, what am I most interested in? What kinds of methods do I want to practice? What do I do with this later, right? So it's your demonstration of the skills, but not only the skills, the passion that you have developed for a particular topic, right? So one thing that we emphasize a lot in the program beyond technical skills is the ability to communicate, the ability to develop something like a profile of yourself as somebody who is, I'm very interested in development issues. And this what has driven me to learn these tools. So now I can apply them to these questions. Or it could be much more methodologically driven, right? I'm just very interested in data science, generally speaking. So I've taken so many different classes. I can think of a problem from different perspectives, applying different methodologies. So your master's thesis paper could be a methodological one, right? So again, there's many different ways in which you can craft your profile, let's say, so that when you come out of the program, you can speak to who you are, what skills you have, both technical and soft skills, and how you've applied them to a number of things that you have done here. So master's thesis is one of those things. As Greg mentioned, there's also the practicum class, which are projects done in teams with a outside partner organization. Those are difficult, challenging projects. And I'm so happy to say that each one of them has gone fantastically well. We have thrown quite the challenge to students, and they have always been able to tackle it, whether it's working with image data from satellites, predicting flooding, whether it's working with census data and building dashboards so that actual users, real people in the world like municipalities and foundations, can use those tools to get federal data that's there but not easily accessible and not easily visualized. And our students do this. That has been very rewarding. So we have a number of those partnerships going on. And then every class is also an opportunity to practice something and write a paper, right? So you come out of the program with a collection of a portfolio, let's say, of papers and work that you have done. You can post it on GitHub if you want, not mandatory, up to you, but we teach you how to do that as well. So you come with a portfolio of things that then you can present to either employers or the wider community of researchers, because you will become a part of a community of practice, right? And we want you to feel like you really belong there and you have a portfolio of things to show. So that's what I'm going to say for now. And yeah, over to you, Greg.
Great. Thank you, Elena. I couldn't have said it better myself, so thank you. So in terms of, let's talk a little bit about what this would look like for you all in terms of how you think about the application process, how it would work if you joined us and things like that. So I don't know. So those of you who are here and are freshmen and sophomores, you all are, have time to develop yourselves just internally at Barnard, working on your major, working on what you're, deciding to do there, and building up to, having a chance to apply to the BAMA. That would start in earnest if you are a junior. The deadline that you would want to be thinking about would be the typical deadline for all of our applicants, which is, I'll put it in the chat, in January 19th for juniors. So that will be, beginning of next year. So you have some time for all of you who are in that situation. Until you would apply at that time. There's a special kind of application that you need to be conscious of. It's on our website, and you can we'll follow up and make sure the Beyond Barnard folks have that for you, but that'll be the deadline to work from. If you're a senior and you're still interested in doing the BA/MA with us, it's not too late. We have a deadline for that, which is going to be in November. It is specifically, let me find it.
The 17th, I put it in.
It's the 17th. Oh, fantastic. Okay. So the 17th of November. So you have almost a month to work on that. And so you are welcome to apply for that. In terms of, how to think about the application for you, again, the biggest thing is to sort of understand your undergraduate situation currently, right? In terms of your credits towards your major, credits towards your overall Barnard degree. You want to make sure that those are taken care of. But then if you are, if you have room in your schedule thereafter and you have potentially credits that could be electives for you to choose from, that's when you would want to start thinking about potential ones to take with QMSS, or ones that would just potentially count towards your QMSS degree as graduate level classes or highly advanced undergraduate classes. And so we can start to advise you relative to that as well. And so for the seniors who are applying in November, that we would be able to potentially give you an answer before you would need to choose your classes for the spring 2013 final semester at Barnard. In terms of what that would look like once you join QMSS, right? So after having completed all of your Barnard requirements, then the way it would work at QMSS is that if you had extra credits that you were able to get at Barnard that didn't need to be counted towards your undergraduate degree, they could potentially be counted towards your graduate degree. And the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences allows up to 1/4 of the overall tuition of the QMSS degree to potentially be filled with these credits from your Barnard experience. And so that's sort of the, that's if you were able to take enough classes to fulfill that kind of maximum of 1/4 of the time at QMSS. And so essentially what that means is you're able to do QMSS potentially 25% kind of quicker than you would do it normally, or 25% less obligation in terms of classes and tuition than you would otherwise have to do. And so that's one of the main benefits of this pathway, is that it gives you that additional freedom that you were able to accrue those credits from your undergraduate degree and sort of count them towards your graduate degree with us. So as I said, the specifics of that, obviously we can work out once you actually take your classes and so on. But in general, that's the principle. You're able to have 25% of your obligation, up to 25%, potentially be done through your undergraduate degree as well. So in terms of what that would look like, is that typically you would join us then in the fall after you were done with your Barnard degree, and take classes like a typical QMSS master's student. But then you might in the spring have a bit more flexibility in terms of the number of classes you needed to take. You might have more freedom to do other things with your time in that last semester of the spring semester before you were to graduate from the QMSS program. And so that, I think, is the big things to keep in mind. In terms of your experience in the program, I have to say, BA/MA students have really been fully integrated into the master's experience. You will not feel any different. People won't even tell the difference. We've had BA/MA students who've come in, and then the next semester in the program, they're TAing for classes right away. And so there's no reason that you couldn't get the most out of the program for the most amount of time in it. And we're really excited. We've had amazing BA/MA students from Barnard and from Columbia College and from General Studies, and we're very happy to see you join us, and really supportive of that. In terms of additional things why this program might make sense for you to do as a BA/MA beyond this 25% potential kind of savings on tuition and other things is that there's some benefit to it in terms of kind of keeping your momentum going, right? So out of undergrad, sometimes it's really helpful because you're already in a mode of doing well in school and building up your skill set, that this is sort of a nice way to capstone that off, to kind of push it to the next level and really kind of move you even further in the direction you want to be. And so that's one thing. Obviously, if you're already kind of very comfortable and enjoyed your Barnard experience, then obviously there's a lot of continuity in terms of being in the same places and being in the same neighborhood and being familiar with a lot of the kind of processes and offices and the culture of Columbia and Barnard that comes with it as well. And so there's a lot of reasons to consider sort of seeing that through yet further. And again, we're here to support that. I think there were a number of questions that have, Elena, anything else that you would say with regard to kind of the BA/MA experience and the kind of the responsibilities and organization of the degree?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much covers it, right? The whole idea of the 4+1 is that while if you are a junior right now and you're applying by the January deadline and you will be senior next year, that you use that 1 year to both fulfill your BA requirements that are left and then also take 2 or 3 QMSS classes. If you are a senior this year and you are applying by the November 17th deadline, then you have the spring semester to do that, right? So in the spring, you'll take a look at what is left to fulfill the requirements for Barnard, and then do you have credits, maybe 6 credits to take 2 of our classes. And when you matriculate into QMSS, you bring them over, you bring over these 2 or 3 classes with you for a half residence unit. Our program requires 2 residence units for graduation. So that term residence unit is something that you may not know. It's specific for the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, but essentially 1 residence unit means you're a full-time student that semester. 2 full-time residents, 2 residence units means you're enrolled in 2 full-time semesters. Our program is, generally speaking, a year-long program, so 2 residence units. When you complete half a residence unit while you're still at Barnard, that's where you're saving money from, right? You're not paying that tuition, you're paying the tuition for 1.5 residence units. Now, there's a caveat there for international students on F1 visa that they have to be full-time at all times. So for them, the situation might be a little different, that you are actually not able to be a part-time student. So that half residence unit is not going to really work out in ways of saving, tuition. But we also find that at least half of our cohort stays longer. They stay for 3 semesters rather than 2. And the reasons vary, but mostly they just want to take more classes because there's so many classes to take that it's not possible to do it in 2 semesters. You don't have to take them all, but students sometimes want to take more. So the benefit is still that in 1 year, you're able to take more classes than what you would normally be taking, right? So just kind of wanted to make that very clear for everyone.
Thank you, Elena. Yeah, it's obviously it can get a little complicated in the particulars for everybody. One other thing I would note as well, for those who are international, as Elena said, you may be expected to do full-time status for multiple semesters, but if you may have more kind of flexibility in terms of what courses you take and what sort of how you're exactly taking those classes, as well as our program for international students is one that is a STEM extension program, which allows students to stay and work in the United States potentially for up to 3 years without having to have any H-1B visa or things like that. And so that is something that is sometimes attractive to students, is the possibility of having an extended period upon graduation to, to work in the United States in their chosen areas. So one of the things that the program offers that's valuable to some students for sure. I don't think there's there's lots more to say. I know I want to be, want to make sure we have a little bit of time for any final questions, and we can, and if nobody has particular questions, we'll say a couple final things maybe that we've heard frequently asked of us, and go from there. So any kind of other questions folks want to chat in or want to raise their hand on and ask, otherwise we'll maybe answer a couple of general ones that we've gotten in the past.
Yeah, feel free to unmute if you would like, raise your hand, or drop it in the chat. Any additional questions?
Maybe while you're coming up with those, we'll answer, I'd say probably the most common question we get. Elena, something's coming to me. And so I think the question is around what courses from undergrad we see as helpful for students to take. And so we can talk a little bit about that, because I think it goes in general to sort of what makes someone a good candidate for our program, and what we look for in students in general. And so let me tell you what we are not looking for. We're not looking for anything in particular. We're not looking for a specific grade cutoff. We're not looking for specific majors. We are very, very open to a variety of backgrounds coming into the program. And so what we do want to see, though, obviously, is we want to see your sort of interest and enthusiasm for studying things like quantitative methods, right? And so we want to be, and it doesn't have to be in a predefined way. But we want that to come across. We'll look for that in your personal statement. That's where we'll look to see your explanation for where you've been, where you are now, and where you want to go, and how QMSS could potentially help with that. So that's something that we want you to tell us your story. We're not looking for a specific one, but we are really hoping that you'll kind of give us insight into what you're hoping to do with QMSS, and hopefully that we can help you with. So that's probably the number one thing that we spend so much time reading everyone's application to get a sense of who they are. That's the biggest thing. In terms of courses and things like that, again, I think we would love to see your, that you can talk a little bit about kind of why you're coming to a quantitative program and wanting to learn those sorts of skills. And so sometimes that might be because you can reference classes you've already taken that have excited you in that regard. So that would be something, or maybe it was an internship that you had that gave you an inkling that these skills would be useful, or maybe it would be a research assistantship that you had that did that, or anything along those lines. And so we're very, very open to how you want to articulate sort of your connection to quantitative methods. One other thing that you are not required to do is you aren't required to have your GREs, to take GREs to join the program. That being said, if you want to take the GREs to further demonstrate your interest in quantitative skills and your general wherewithal, you're welcome to take them, but we're not looking for them. We're not requiring them at all. But if you feel like you need to, that's great. If you are, if you aren't able to have room in your schedule to take specific classes at Barnard or what have you that are quantitative, you're welcome to share with us if you end up wanting to take a course on Coursera or something like that to, again, show that you have had some interaction. That's great. Don't do it just for us, okay? Do it because it's useful in general. Don't go out of your way to try and to arrange things for that purpose. But more generally, if it's something that you just want to explore and know more about before you're in a position of applying, that would be great to see too. So I think those are a few things that we look for in terms of it. And so, in terms of specific courses, I would say really, I would lean towards your undergraduate advisors to give you direction. And if you let them know what kinds of goals you have, they're probably more in tune with what kinds of courses would make the most sense to kind of expand your repertoire or to demonstrate your ability or to pique your interest, then we would. We're pretty open, honestly, to seeing whatever it is that you wanted to take for classes. Elena, anything else on that regard?
Yeah, I just would like to reiterate that, yes, we do want to see a good match to QMSS, that you'll be a good fit into the program in the sense that you know what you're coming to QMSS for, right? What kinds of skills and projects and ideas you want to acquire, to exercise, to try out here. So that's very important. You're already, you're at Barnard, Columbia more or less well. So you should have good ideas about why QMSS rather than some other programs, what is important for you. We want to make sure the students do well, and we have many ways of supporting them because we do not expect necessarily that you have coding skills, that you have already math and statistics skills. So we have many ways to support you, but also it's very important that you're motivated because it is going to be intense times to ramp up. It's a learning curve, and you have to be sufficiently motivated and persistent to get over that hump initially. And that's kind of what we want to see. And that's, that comes through from your general academic record so far, from recommendations that you get. Have in mind that there have to be 3 recommendation letters now. At least 2 have to come from professors that know you. And that also comes through from your statement of purpose. So make sure that you work on the statement of purpose and it's not just kind of a standard thing that you submit everywhere. Sometimes people also ask in terms of the reference letters, like who should they ask? And I always say that the people who know you best, who can speak in detail about work that you have done, your strengths, those are the best recommenders, even if they're not like the most famous name, right? So don't go for the big name, go for the person who actually really can speak to your strengths. So that's another advice I have. And yeah,
a couple of other questions in the chat. One was actually a follow-up to my answer earlier, which was someone was asking whether or not what kinds of courses would best prepare them for our program in particular. And so I think Elena has mentioned that a little bit, but it's certainly having some familiarity or some exposure to coding class where you're using some of these skills, whether that's Stata or R or Python, and you kind of are used to that. That's great to have if you have room in your schedule and want to sort of try that out. The courses generally have some level of coding in them. We don't assume really any coding upon joining the program, but if you want to know whether you like doing that and you want to feel more prepared, then that's one thing to do for sure. And then again, in terms of some kind of course that's going to capture some level of statistical thinking, so whether that's an econometrics course or microeconomics or macroeconomics, or a statistics course itself, or even things that you might come across in, say, the urban studies program or things like that. Anything in a space where you'll be kind of working with quantitative ideas is really helpful too. So if you have room in your schedule and can do that as well, certainly consider it. Again, not required by any means. And I think we had a question about that asked a little bit about, do we have a sense of kind of the classes or focuses that individuals have pursued in the program, and particularly in context of the economics track. And so the economics track is one that is largely structured for you in terms of what the economics department expects folks to go through. So you'll take advanced econometrics, either advanced microeconomics or advanced macroeconomics. And then after that, you have electives. And so one's welcome to take courses in game theory, in real analysis, in behavioral economics or developmental economics, or any number of courses that are offered in that semester or across the year. So you're welcome to kind of choose among those. As Elena said, I think there are some students who really are interested in getting a lot of economics training, and so you can take a lot of courses while you're at QMSS that are specifically economics. We tend to find students are a little bit more broad-based in how they're interested in learning, and so I think some students end up taking an economics course here or there, but combining it with a flexible focus where they take NLP as well, or they take machine learning, or they take time series or something like that to kind of round out their experience. So, again, that happens more in the advising stage where we can give you kind of specific advice on it. But students have done all different versions. We have students who took tons of economics classes and now are PhDs in economics. We have other folks who thought they wanted to do that and then switched into data science and now they're data scientists. So it kind of can go in a variety of directions for sure.
One thing to know about the economics focus is that, yes, a lot of the required classes are econ classes, and so you have less space in your program to take quantitative methods classes with us or others. And that you are free to take 4,000 level classes of the economics department. And if you want to take higher level than that, you have to take a math exam the semester before you, like the fall before you start the program. It's a hard math exam. I know that a lot of people don't actually pass it. If you do pass it, then you can take higher level courses, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 level courses that are usually taken by the PhD students. But there's plenty of courses to choose from at the 4,000 level.
I'm going to jump in for a second. I have a question that came directly to me from a student, and then I actually have a frequently asked question. So the student asked, is there a cap to the number of students who are accepted, or is there an approximate acceptance rate for the program?
In terms of, so overall, we have, this year we had over 1,000 applications overall, but there's not sort of there's not a specific exact number we end up going for. The cohorts tend to be, they fluctuate a little bit, especially relative to kind of COVID. We have a lot of folks who are deferred and other things like that. But the cohorts are, typically 100 or so, a bit more maybe. So we have a lot of students who we're able to bring in and get to know each other. And again, your best resource are your classmates. They get so much out of them. And so I'd say with regard to the Barnard students in particular, I'd say we've had been in a position to accept a good number of them. And so we're not capping the number that we'll accept from Barnard. We're happy to have strong candidates regardless. And so, we'd encourage folks to apply. It's been something that I think the number of Barnard students we've accepted has grown over time, and that's fine with us for sure.
Yeah, this is a very frequently asked question from for all the pathways, and with the exception of the Mailman School of Public Health, there are no quotas on Barnard applicants. So we tend to we encourage students to think of it more as a screening process than a competitive process. I mean, obviously you're being looked at and and whether you qualify, but from our point of view, it has to do with the feasibility of being able to, start the program during your senior year if possible, and how that all works out. So all of the Barnard 4+1s require a minimum 3.5 GPA just as part of the intercorporate agreements that we signed. Yeah, and I think it was noted in the chat that there's a fee waiver. There's no application fee if you apply as a 4+1 pathway student, and no GRE is required or other standardized tests. So the question I wanted to ask is just what's the total number of credits required for the degree? So when they're figuring out that 25% and how much they can take as a Barnard.
Right. It's as Elena said, it's a little bit complicated because the Grad School of Art Sciences doesn't work on credits in terms of tuition. So the degree is 30 credits total. But there's a requirement that you would have 2 residence units, which are kind of bundles of credits. You get up to 20 credits you could take a semester for 1 residence unit. Sorry, it's complicated. But the short answer is, we'll be counting 30 credits for your degree. There'll be a mixture of electives and required courses while you're here, but many students take more than that. With this, with the way it works, they can take 32, 34, 36, up to 40 over 2 semesters if they really wanted to. And so as they're thinking about it, the way that the half residence unit would work is there's a certain number of courses that would count towards their degree. I have to say, offhand, I don't want to give you the wrong number. So I can't remember if it's exactly by course or by credit. So I don't want to misspeak. But typically, I don't know, Elena, if you have a stronger sense of it offhand or not.
So I think it's half a they can transfer half a residence unit.
Yeah.
And that means 2 or 3 classes. That's a half residence. So again, if a student can only afford 2 classes in their spring schedule, that's 6 credits. They will transfer those 6 credits and half a residence unit. So again, to graduate, there's kind of a double requirement. On the one hand, 30 credits, on the other hand, 2 residence units. Usually for the typical program, that's a year long, that comes out to 5 courses a semester, right? A full-time residence unit is 4 classes or more, and you pay the same tuition. Whether you take 4 classes, 5 classes, or 6 classes, it's the same tuition. It's 1 residence unit. So that's where Greg was mentioning some people can actually end up with more than 30 credits if they take more than 5 classes a semester. When you transfer half a residence unit and let's say 6 credits, or maybe 9 credits if you take 3 courses, then that goes as a credit towards both your, both of those requirements, both the credits and the residence unit. And you may end up, with more than 30 credits.
Just to reiterate, if the classes, those 2 to 3 classes you take in year 4 as a Barnard senior are you're paying Barnard tuition, living in Barnard residence halls, if that's your choice, Barnard dining, and
Right.
financial aid applies. Once you graduate from Barnard, move over to be a full-time QMSS student, then you're no longer a Barnard student. So all of those things fall away and you're a 100% graduate student.
Right.
Exactly. So we'll take you'll join Graduate Arts and Sciences, and we'll look after you from there. And
Although Beyond Barnard is still here for.
That's true, actually.
Yeah,
best of both worlds, for sure. Yeah. And I think if any more questions, absolutely follow up with us at qmss@columbia.edu. As I said, we've had great experiences with your folks who've come before you in the program. They've paved an amazing way. We're very well disposed towards BA MA students from Barnard. We'd love to see more. And we'd love to sort of talk it through with you when you're kind of at that point. So absolutely follow up with us, qmss@columbia.edu. And then I'm afraid I think I have to go run to office hours in the next minute or 2. So we'll have to leave anything else beyond that. But thank you so much for the time. Thanks for joining us. It means a lot, and thanks for arranging it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Be well. Thanks.
Everybody, and follow up with at Beyond Barnard with Professor Harrison or with Gregory or Elena as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.